Welcome back, everybody, to Natural AF. I'm your host, Isaac.
And I'm Alexa.
And you found your way here probably because you were called by an unseen force to level up your life, to explore your true potential, to reconnect with nature and your natural state of being. Natural AF is all about seeing what's possible and living it and embodying it.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode is no different. We're getting into a post-festival recap with Dave Armstrong from the Living Free Movement. Dave is a guy that does something when other people just talk about it or complain about what the mainstream is up to. Dave doesn't have a whole lot of stuff to say on what the mainstream is up to because he's so busy building alternatives. He's building things that he and others want to see come into this world and offer solutions.
Yeah, so this is Dave's third time on our show. So our regular listeners should be very, very well acquainted with who Dave is and what he's all about. And so we thought this would be a great opportunity to get him on and sort of debrief after the festival. This was the second Living Free festival in Australia. We were there for the first one. We were there again for the second one. And it was much bigger and better. And it was another incredible event. And it was also good to reflect on in this episode. We just kind of went where the conversation took us, but the recent march that happened I know there was definitely one in Sydney. I'm not sure if it happened Australia-wide.
It was all over Australia. It was protesting immigration and stuff.
Yeah. And it was another one of those things that I think it started with one intention and it became another thing. And yeah, we just had a bit of a chat about that and explored, just our different opinions and what we think is really going on. And at the end of the day, it's like what feels right for you. That just felt totally off for me. It just feels like more divisiveness. And, off the back of the Living Free festival, that's just not what we want to put our energy into. We want to put our energy into community and unity and bringing people together. So yeah, this is a really interesting chat with Dave. It's always a good time with Dave.
Yeah. I've seen a few videos of people saying what the, protest and the march is about, this and that. But if you ask 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. And I think for a lot of us, we're past the march thing. This is not about fighting. This is more about growing out of it. And kind of like an umbilical cord, it falls off when you don't need it anymore. So that's what we're hoping to happen. We create our own supply chains. We create our own relationships. We create our own businesses. And we become independent and free from reliance. So it was amazing seeing that at the festival. It was a good community of like-minded businesses that had their market stalls there. And the energy is there. The people showed up. The people wanted this. There was potential for people to cancel because of the weather. And it was just amazing. You'll hear the whole story of what challenges that they had to face to pull this thing off, but it went off really well. So
yeah. And for those that have been here the last couple of weeks, you'll notice that Isaac and I are back together this week. I was down in Sydney for about a week. And so we had to record the last week's intro separately. And then we recorded this interview separately. So Isaac and I on different screens. It was actually really interesting recording an interview separately. It's our first time doing that. And so I apologize. There's a couple of times where Isaac and I both jump in and talk over each other, which we never do when we're together, did you find that interesting?
Yeah. I mean, it's just I think there was a little bit of a lag time.
A little bit of a delay. Yeah, there definitely was while we were recording. I picked up on that too. But it's just interesting. I noticed it was a little bit harder for me because I can normally, when I'm with you, when you're sitting next to me, I can totally pick up on your energy on when you're about to say something. And I was trying throughout the interview, but it was much harder. So I'm glad we're back together again. It's actually really not fun trying to podcast separately and setting up mics. And tech is not my thing. So it was a little bit stressful, but we made do. One other thing, guys, I have to address because both Isaac and Dave gave me shit about this before the interview. I am wearing AirPods. I'm wearing Bluetooth headphones during this interview because I needed headphones, and my corded ones have a different jack to the phone, to the computer. So yes, I totally wired my brain for an hour and a half, but I will survive.
Yourself?
I EMF'd myself for an hour and a half.
Why don't you go EMF yourself, Alexa?
I have to address it because we're natural AF and honestly, Isaac can vouch for this. I hardly ever wear those Bluetooth headphones. Like if I'm really stuck, and that's usually the only time is when I need it for my laptop because I don't have normal headphone jacked corded headphones. So
we'll forgive you.
Thank you. I just had to address it because I was like, oh, if I get judged for this, like she's wearing Bluetooth headphones. Oh my God.
It's like, how far do you want to take it? Do we want to be so natural AF? Remember those little those cones that they used to have on record players?
No.
You have to have those like in your ears. Like, how far natural do we have to go to be really natural?
We should have just recorded the whole thing with 2 cans on a string from here to Sydney. That's natural AF.
Natural AF headphones. We're gonna start selling those on the website as merch.
Oh God.
It plugs into your phone, but it's just like,
yeah. Well, look, and honestly, this is what I want to say too. I think everyone went through that stage when you find out about these things and you're like, oh my God, Bluetooth headphones are so bad for you. Oh my God. And it's like, yeah, if you're using them day in, day out, all day, every day, or like every time you listen to something, yeah, it's probably not going to be great for you. But I totally believe in our own personal power. And I know that we are strong enough to overcome anything. So like an hour and a half of the Bluetooth headphones, like I'll be fine. Like I know I'll be fine. So
yeah, as long as you're not doing it every day, you know.
Yeah, unlike some people I know.
Yeah, every day at the gym. You know how annoying it is to work out with headphones that are plugged into your phone at the gym?
Yeah, I do.
Can somebody please just design a more resonant, like biofield friendly Bluetooth frequency, and then we just have our own tech with our own headphones that aren't going to, turn the frogs gay? Can someone please do that already? Thanks, that'd be great.
That's a good call out. Someone do that. Someone just take that and run, please.
Yeah. I like how everything just goes back to turning the frogs gay. It has nothing to do with Bluetooth, but, stay suspicious, people. All right, folks. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter on our website at naturalartform.com. That's where you'll hear first about any kind of sales or specials that are going on and updates on where we're going to be at markets. So if you're in the local area, if you're traveling through this way, the northern rivers of Australia, and you want to come by and say hello, we'll be at the markets, but you'll find out where via our newsletter. And as well, if there's any special events, we've got a few coming up that we've kind of hinted at in the newsletter. So if you want to stay up to date on special events or festivals that we're going to go to for freedom-loving, like-minded folks, similar to the Living Free Movement Festival that we just did, newsletter is where you'll get that info first.
And when you sign up to the newsletter, you'll also get a 10% off discount code that'll be emailed straight to you once you sign up. So for our local customers, when they purchase more than one product, they get $5 off, and we want to extend that to you online. So now when you purchase an Alleviate, which is our most popular product, you'll get $5 off any other product that you add. So for the US and worldwide, you can get $5 off a Refresh deodorant. And for our Aussie customers, you'll get $5 off either Refresh deodorant or Regenerate Skin Repair Cream.
Right. And the code for that is bundle5, BUNDLE, the number 5. And just plug that in when you go to the website, naturalartform.com, for $5 off. Yeah, so we would greatly appreciate if you've already tried our product and you loved it. Let us know how your story went. You can drop us a review via either Google reviews, or if you've gotten an email from us, usually after you've purchased online, it'll send you an email. So drop us a review in that link, or go to our website and click on the reviews icon on the homepage. It's on the bottom left of the page. It says reviews. So that would help us out. Appreciate it. Love you guys, and let's get into the episode.
Let's do it.
So we've got Dave Armstrong again, back right after the festival. Welcome back to Natural AF, Dave. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Hey, Davo.
Yeah.
Is this your third time on now? Or is it more? I feel like we've had you on more than anyone.
Yeah, I think at least 3. So
Yeah.
regular now. You might as well just put me on the show. Just make me-
100%. Well, that's how we feel about the Living Free. We're basically just part of the furniture in the Living Free now.
Yeah, but post-festival has a lot of good energy. Like last year, this festival was a lot of fun. I did some emceeing there. I feel like I started off a bit wobbly and got better as we went on, but I had some good feedback. But it was fun. There was a lot of guests, a lot of stuff going on multiple stages. You guys really, man, you guys planned this like very, I don't know, it was like a lot.
It was jam-packed.
But really good content. It was jam-packed, and it stuck to it. The whole timeline of everything was ticking pretty well this festival. So good job.
Thank you. Yeah, it was crazy, the whole thing, but so much good came from it. But it was yeah, I mean, biblical rains leading in that closed off every road, and there was so much stress that was piled on from that. I just felt like we were up against something massively spiritual, trying to stop this going ahead, and the fact that we got through it. There's so much gratitude to everyone that helped that occur, and those who showed up and pushed through the rains and did all of that. Like, we actually had 3 magical days, like perfect skies, not a cloud or a chemtrail in the sky, just perfect for the 3 days of the actual event. But leading in, we just had so much torrential rain that literally the morning of, all the roads were shut and people couldn't get in. And then the water just went down enough. It was almost as though there was some sort of divine intervention to like get rid of the floods, and then the cars could start coming in, and everything just sort of mostly dried up. We still had some obviously mud and that but it was just an amazing event that had so many challenges and then so much good that came out of it.
Yeah. Well, you can blame Alexa for that. Before the festival, she was like, okay, Sky, just go ahead and let it out now. Just rain. And then when the festival hits, then stop raining. So,
well, because I actually didn't know that the rain was predicted until about a week. I think it was the weekend prior. Someone said to me, we're talking about the festival, and someone said, it's meant to be raining all week next week, right? And I was like, what? Because I never look at the weather predictions. Anyway, so I looked on, and it was like 90% chance, 100% chance, and like a lot of rain. And I was like, far out. So I was like messaging everyone I spoke to in that week. I said, guys, we need to clear the skies. We need to put our intention in. We need to visualize like the skies clearing, all this stuff. And then when it kind of got to, and I was checking the thing every day. I was checking the weather forecast, and I could see it wasn't going to, like, we weren't going to clear it during the week. So that's when I was like, all right, I literally kept saying out aloud, rain, you can just like pour your heart out, empty the skies out, but you have to stop. Thursday's the last day. Like, that's it. And that's literally what happened. But even I honestly could not have predicted that we would have had like literally sunny blue skies. Like, I think on Saturday we looked up and there was not a cloud in the sky. Like, it was gorgeous. And it just goes to show but the power of intention. And I think like collectively when we're all doing that together, like, you can, like, that's, to me, that's like making miracles happen. It was incredible.
Yeah, I think the lesson for this one is next time let's put that intention for the couple of days leading up as well, just to remove that stress for me. Because literally Thursday night, I'm sitting there going through, and obviously we open up the event on the Friday, and it was meant to stop raining overnight, and I kept waking up. And then I'd check my phone, and I'd check outside, and I'd check my phone as to whether, what was going to happen. And it's still raining. And I think it went through to like, the next morning, like early in the next morning. And then we went out at about maybe 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock and started checking the roads. And some of the roads had even like broken up a bit. And, it was just absolutely crazy. And we spoke to the owner of the property just to get a lay of the land. Like, okay, we've got this big stretch here that's got water up to it. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. That never gets too high. Most cars will be able to get through that. But it's this other one down the road that's the worry. Once that closes off, like, it'll section this whole part off. But he said, don't worry, there's another road that we can get everyone in if we need to. And so we went through this big flood section and went through to this other road, and it was fine. And then later on in the day, it was completely flooded, and we're like, okay, that's just closed off this whole section to the Pillar Valley. And then I was like, okay, messaging everyone saying, come through this other road that Sam had told us about. And I got a message at like 6:30 in the morning with a picture of them standing in front of their car with that road completely flooded as well. And I was like, oh no,
wow.
like we can't get anyone in.
Oh,
And
no.
you're getting messages from everywhere. Anyway, and even down the end of the road, one of the people who lived there for many years said, we've never had that section of road flood in the whole time I've lived here. And so
Wow.
whatever we were up against, like not just the floods, because there was other stuff leading into the event, it was just one thing after another. And you could feel this heaviness, this darkness that we're pushing through. I felt like I was like pushing through mud, just trying to do anything. But there was obviously mud there, but it just felt so heavy. And then we're watching the sort of when it's meant to stop raining, and we're looking, we're like, if it just can break through and we'll just get enough where the waters come down. And that's exactly what happened. The waters came down, people came in. And it was so cool because those people that made that trek and did it, there was like an adventure to it. And then like there was a blessing, I think, for those that came through. And I could just remember there was so much gratitude from people because we stuck to it and went through as well. So a lot of people just came like, oh, awesome work. Thanks for not shutting it down. Thanks for, sticking to it. The guys from ATG Health, the guys who had the Elixir bar, they showed up on the Friday morning, and it was just starting to sort of come through, and they had such a good energy about them. Adam, who owns it, and he just came up to me and gave me a big hug, and he's like, man, great work for sticking to it. This is going to be awesome. We're with you 100%. Rain, hail, shine. We're here. And that was really like, it just sort of changed the tone because I'd felt all of the stress, but then we had to get everyone in and parked up safely. And, that comes with a whole lot of stress as well with, cars getting stuck or whatever. But it was an amazing experience to get through. And, I think everyone who persevered with that was blessed with just an amazing event with amazing musicians and speakers. And I'm calling it the Just Festival. It just went ahead, and everything was like dust. It was like even one of the artists, they got stuck and they couldn't get through, and then they just turned up like a minute before they were meant to come. And it was just all of these things where it was like just this, just that, and then anyway, it was the Just Festival for me.
Yeah.
And
I think
that
you're
was
right,
incredible.
Dave.
Good job.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Dave. Like the energy of like once we were there, because we were we normally like last year we arrived on the Thursday so that we could get everything set up and like just be there ready to go on Friday, but we couldn't obviously because the rain was like torrential on Thursday.
Well, you could have, but you just left me in the rain down there. I'd just stay in a nice warm house and join us.
Right, we could have, but for the people that did arrive on Thursday,
I could have
actually.
I was still bottling up stuff, although I didn't need as much this year,
right.
but I was still bottling stuff up and labeling on Thursday. I was like, I don't know how I would have gotten this done on Wednesday.
Yeah, products. Yeah, we were still, we had so much to prepare. But no, you're right. I think like once the festival started and like the people that were there, it was like this, there was no one complained about how muddy it was or, having to get like pull cars out, because there was even we were driving in and there were like vans, that were bogged and getting pulled out and stuff. And so it was a little bit chaotic, but like no one complained about it. No one was in a bad mood over it. Like everyone was just happy to be
Dave,
there.
Or did they just like complain to you and you just absorbed it?
No, in general, everyone was pretty cool. Like you always get one or two, but like in general, the mood was really cool the whole way through. And like probably the people who were most inconvenienced were the caravans, because we actually said, hey, don't come until 3:00. We need the water to drain away. And we had backups, like sites down the road. And we went to set up our backup plan for the caravans. And we took down some toilets so that, if you get out of your caravan and you need to go to the toilet or you don't have a toilet in there, that had toilets down there. So we took it down and these toilets just went boom, straight down to the axles as we went on this land, and we went, oh no. Okay, so that is out. And then we had to try to we sat someone down on the road and said, go down to the local bar area. And we sent someone down there, my brother actually, to organize caravan parks. And so he's trying to get through, but it's all council and national park and all of that sort of stuff. So it's really difficult to sort of book. And so he sort of was down there for a couple of hours organizing it all. But we sort of got everyone in. We paid for the caravan parks as well, which they were really happy about, which I think sort of, I don't think they were expecting that. And then we set up a shuttle bus service. And then what actually happened though, and this is kind of the cool thing about, when you've got a great community, they actually turned around and said, hey, we're having such a good time down at the caravan park. We've all connected with each other, chatting on the bus, and we've created a little community hub down there with, with each other. So we're loving it.
Oh, it's so
and
nice.
So
amazing.
I just love how when people turn a difficult situation and make it into something good. And so blessed to have that sort of community in general across the board.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing that, it's just fun when you see the people that show up and push through these kinds of things. It's always that case. It's like they'll make a party out of it. They'll have fun. They'll bring, they'll share stuff with each other. It's just, these trials. Well, it's not ideal. You don't want to look for it when you have these events, but it really does bring people together. And even when, like I remember the first Bear Fest, it rained. I don't know if it was 2 full days of rain. Pretty much the first full day of the festival was just pulling people out of the mud. That's all that happened. There was no speakers. There was no music. There was no nothing. It was just pulling people out of the mud. But it was like a trial by fire. But the rain always comes to test you. And I'm grateful for it in a weird way. But we don't need it every time. This time was great. Learned it. Thank you, God. Let's go. Let's give a miss on the next rain sesh.
Well, I kept saying too. Oh, you go ahead, Dave.
I just feel like everything was thrown at us, and then we got through it, and the team came through, and the community came through, and those who were meant to be there were there, and it was an unforgettable experience. And the feedback has been amazing, to be honest. Like I was expecting people to go, oh, it sucked how I got bogged or whatever. And so, so there were a bunch of cars that got bogged that we got out. And even the fact of like some of the people helping, like Matt was one of the guys there, and he's like trying to help push this car. And he's like, I know I'm going to get sprayed with mud here, but if I pull back from doing this, I'm not going to get this car out. I'm just going to take the mud. And he just had all the mud flick up on him. And he came down and he's just like, this is what it is. And it was that sort of attitude, I think, is so cool when people come through that. And then when people to come together. So it was almost like a bonding experience in many ways for those who had that attitude.
Yeah, I think we were trauma bonding, Dave.
Yeah. I was traumatized. I was more traumatized on this than I've ever been in my life. And then so much emotional aspect of getting through it. Like, because the 3 actual event days were amazing. And it was just all the lead up and trying to get people in. So by the Saturday afternoon, once all the day parkers had come in for that one, I could start to relax and enjoy the event myself, because I knew that everyone was safe and everyone was in there. But a lot of pressure. And really tested me on multiple levels. And so.
But you guys did so well, honestly, because it's not only like, it's like you've got, you plan as much as you can until you when you're there. Because you guys arrived, you came up on the Monday, right? Or the Tuesday? The week
the
of?
Monday I arrived. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was pouring down rain. You knew it was going to be wet and whatever, but you still don't know what the situation's going to be until people start arriving and things are getting set up and whatever. And so you guys just did so well to like just think on your feet, find solutions. Like the fact that you went and just hired caravan parts for people. I think that's part of you guys have such a good attitude going into it. Like, because when we arrived on Friday, you were stressed Friday morning, totally understandable. And I just kind of, you had to, we were trying to find our spot and you said, just give me a minute, and you were off with Lolly, and it was fine because I was like, I knew that was going to be the case, but it wasn't like this, yeah, it wasn't like this really negative attitude that filtered down from the top, because that can happen sometimes, especially in like a really crazy situation like that. But you guys just did, I take my hat off to you, because you and Erin, I think, are just so good at finding solutions and thinking on your feet and just getting shit done. And you did, and I think that's a big part of the reason why there was just this really awesome attitude throughout the whole festival.
Yeah, I mean, even one of the things, because we were running out of places for day parking because all the day parking parts were muddy, and so a lot of the day parking is often not four-wheel drives as well. So we were sort of running out of that space. So Lynette jumped onto Wikicamps and looked for properties surrounding, and there was a property like pretty much across one of the main driveways, and it was sort of up the hill. So we ended up going across and paying that guy a few $100 and having, day parking across there. And it worked out. So that was organized on the Saturday, like literally the Saturday morning, because we found it overnight. We contacted them, sent them messages back and forth, because you can't actually call them, right? And you don't know exactly where it is on Wiki Camps or anything. Contacted them, they say, yep, come out, let's have a chat. Went up there, negotiated, bang. And then next we're on the radio, because we're actually holding back day parkers at this stage. We're like, we think we've got somewhere, just hold back. And then we're like, yep, go, everyone. And so it was like,
that's amazing.
Again, it just happened in time, and everyone went in. So it was, pretty amazing, and just adapting to the environment, and even like, some of the parts, because the water, how much water was moving through. One section was okay, and then the next section wasn't, and then 5 minutes later, the section that was okay was now not okay. So you just had to keep adapting over and over again. And then some of the vendors came in, and they're like, so we were told that we could have this spot and da 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 da, and we're like, yeah, all of those plans are out the window. We're now just looking for a dry spot and have power for you, and we're going to have to all work through and be understanding. And we just set that expectation, and in general most people sort of responded really positively and got on board with it, because they knew that it was so close to not happening.
Yeah, that adaptability, that's really key. And I like it, the Just Festival. That's that's a good name for it.
Well, I want to rewind a little.
More than just sorry. There's so much more than just like barely happening, because there was so much work that went into it. You can just see it was like there was so much of a strong intention set that it was inevitable. Like nothing's going to call this off. There's too much energy. Even if you were like, nah, you can't just call it, because there's all these things that you put in place. There was just like no alternative but to find a way through. And you and the team had that energy where you just rose and responded to it. And I think that is the kind of leadership, that's the kind of stuff that is going to help things like the LFM wade through any other, challenges. Having that kind of example of, hey, just move through it. There's no other way, just forward.
Yeah. And Dave, did you guys actually consider calling it off at one point though? Did you have to consider that?
Yeah, 100%. Well, there was a time in which all the roads coming in were closed. So it was out of my hands at that stage. Like if those roads didn't come down and allow people to get through, I was getting messages throughout the night prior, because some people were coming in on the Thursday to the Friday morning where cars weren't able to get through, and they were lined up, and they were showing like photos of all the cars lined up at the water, trying to work out how to get through. So it was almost out of our hands. But yeah, I mean, for us, it was also this aspect of like, we talk about these things on the platform of like resilience and being there for community and doing all of these things. And so, we felt an obligation to push through and show that leadership, as you're talking about, to give back in that way. Like if we just fold at the early stages, then what are we really setting as an example of getting through, especially when the times get tough, which we've had plenty of those times in the last few years.
Yeah, and I want to rewind a little, Dave, so like, post last festival, which was the first one, what did you learn from doing the first one? And so between the first and the second, because we know like you upgraded the property quite a bit. Like when we got there, I was like, oh wow, there's more toilets and showers. And so what went into it, like before, like leading up to this second festival, and what was your biggest learnings, I guess, from the first one?
Well, so first of all, we put money back into the property. We wanted to improve the roads, and we wanted to increase the section from one property next door, which is still part of the same ownership, but connect those two. So we built roads, which we ended up not being able to use at all. So there was some stuff there that we'd upgraded and not been able to use. But yeah, we put in extra toilets and showers, and we put in hot water and did that sort of thing. So that was pretty cool. And we wanted to highlight more workshops and everything this year. We had a lot of people in the community who had, reached out and said, I really want to be a part of this one and speak at it, or, have a stall or whatever it is. And so there was almost an obligation there, because once again, that's what we're encouraging people to do, is to find their purpose and then to step into that and to take those risks and, do that. So that's why we wanted to support as much as we could. So it was so much of a community event, not only with the volunteers, but, all the workshops, all the stalls, the speakers, it was just, so much community there, which I think helped galvanize everything as well, because they knew us so many of them knew us and our intent and, all of that sort of things. And obviously this is not a commercial venture in what it is. It's something that, costs money to actually put on. So, for us to support them, I think was so important, and to show that's, and to give opportunities. I think a lot of people end up showcasing or stepping into what they're meant to. Like Linton's a prime example. He'd been up to some working bees. He hadn't really done any talks before. I know he's been on your show, but he hadn't done anything in a live audience for some time. And he did 2 presentations, did fantastic, and is now wanting to do more of that. And that's sort of, sometimes it's where a lot of these things start. It's like you give this opportunity and then people can truly step into it. And, you often hear people go, yeah, that was the starting point for me to be able to feel like I could do this. And so you're just providing that support for them to step into, what's their purpose.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I'm bummed I missed his presentations. I was up at the other stage, but I think hopefully there's some recordings of those available. But I'm just pumped that the community stepped up in the way. It was kind of an extension of how we experience the LFM. Over at our property here. Nina, we always have someone over from the LFM. Nina's got so many friends in that group, but they'll stop by at the house. Lisa's always here, but just seeing her at the med tent, doing her tuning fork stuff, being in there for hours with some people. And then Ange down there with the homeopathy and sitting that and just willingly just giving for free, like just being there and happy about it. And those are the kinds of people that, they're exemplary models. There's people that really show that kind of attitude and lead, and they're in a place where they're publicly showing that. So there's a lot of really good examples for the rest of the community. And so this thing just keeps growing and building when you have all these exemplary examples and people that just show up and keep showing up consistently like that. This is a big win in my book for the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, pushing through this opens up doors for the future, and we'll go and lick our wounds and get ready and see what comes for the next one. But, if we didn't push through, I think it would have been the end of this. And I think there's a lot of opportunities that are going to come from this, where we just need to, take a little bit of rest and work out what's next. But there's so much good that it's going to be hard not to step in and do something again.
Yeah. And it's just, we spoke about this after the first festival. Isaac and I always talk about that was kind of the catalyst for us to relaunch the podcast. Like, we had been talking about it for a while, and then when we left the festival, we just got back and we were just like, we just have to do this, and we just did it. And there was something about the energy off the back of that festival. And it felt the same this year. And like you said, like, you know, Linton doing his workshops, which everyone, I miss Linton's workshops as well, but everyone that went absolutely loved them. Like, I've got to say, I think that was the feedback that I only heard good feedback for was the workshops. Everyone loved the workshops. And I think that's, yeah, like you said, I think last year that's probably what people wanted more of. And like, you listened, and that's, people just love the workshops. The speakers were amazing. Of course, the international speakers, having Rachel Vaughan there was awesome, because we've had her we've had her on the podcast, and she's also been on the Living Free platform as well. But there is this energy. And actually what's really interesting this year, I didn't know this until we got home, but there was a new moon on, I think it was the Friday night. So the start of the festival was a new moon. I can't remember what sign it was in, but new moons are all about new beginnings, new energy, and starting things. So I think that energy of sort of like the new beginnings, creation, like putting stuff out into the world, I think was really amplified after this one. And I kind of felt the same thing, like what Linton was saying, because that was actually my first workshop that I did. And I was the first one on the Friday. It was my first workshop, and it went so well. I had so much fun doing it. I had lots of people come up and talk to me after. Lots of people said like they were spewing, they missed it. And I was like, it's fine, because so many people got in late because, you know, with troubles getting in and whatever. And I had that feeling even beforehand. I was like, I feel like, again, this is going to kind of be a catalyst for things to shift for me in my work now. And I can feel that happening. Like, I feel like that momentum's building. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And again, like you said, it's just supporting the community. Like, so many of the people that did the workshops are part of the Living Free community and just put their hand up to do it. And I love that.
Yeah, I don't think people can truly understand without experiencing it what we're talking about. And I think that that's the hard thing to communicate across something like, you know, this is that if you've been there, you know, and there's a different vibrational energy that's going on. It's being alcohol and drug free. And it doesn't mean that we're checking everyone's bags, but it's setting the intent of people coming with that, which means that it's a family friendly event. And it's different. It's different to anything that I've been a part of prior to this. And that feeling is something that we so need. It's like topping up the tanks, because, you know, even throughout this whole 12 months leading from the last festival to this one, I felt like, you know, the tanks were just being drained with life and everything else. And something like this just tops it up. It gives you that energy to keep going and to keep pursuing, and not feel like you've got to close down to what the world's doing. But, you know, I think that in general, that's what's happening in the greater community, is that a lot of people are just feeling that overwhelm or that disconnect or whatever it is, and sort of going back into their shells. And that's what I'm sort of noticing. So I feel like these sorts of things are so important, and that's probably why they get so heavily attacked, because it does renew that energy. It has that ripple effect for so many people in their different, you know, lives, that they really don't want this sort of thing going ahead. So I think everything gets thrown at us, not only just, you know, on the reins and everything else, but on a spiritual level as well. And for those who could see or feel those things, they very much could feel it on this one, that it was coming through and breaking through those things. And we won. We beat whatever was coming up against us, and that was very satisfying.
Yeah, always love a good win. Yeah, and the festival had a great, I mean, there's so many interesting topics that I think people are really into. And for me personally, it was so fun seeing the American guests and the Americans living in other countries. I don't know, it felt like I don't know, like meeting family members or brothers or friends that I've had for ages for the first time. And Mark Gilber, and, you know, we know some of the same people. Mike Wilkerson. It was so funny because I learned about, you know, basics about emceeing from a guy that did the emceeing at the Flat Earth conventions in the States, like the one in Denver, one in Dallas. A friend of a friend knows him, and he's friends with Mike Wilkerson. And it was just interesting to have this another little mini, like, full circle loop. But yeah.
Isaac
Yeah,
just loves
what
having
about-
other Americans there so he doesn't feel like such an outsider.
well, I was telling Lex, or maybe it was on a different podcast that we were talking about. I was like, especially when they came to Ukai and they were hanging out basically like in our, what I feel like is our backyard. It was like when you're a kid and you bring friends over to your house, you know, and you're in your room and you're like, oh, like showing them all your stuff. Like, this is my Hulk smash guide, my Hulk gloves. You know, this is a trophy that I got. Like, you're just showing them around your room and you want to just keep like showing them all your stuff. That's what it felt like having those guys around this area. I was like, yeah, that's a pyramid. See that? We have a pyramid. There's like 3 of them. Like, it was great.
Yeah.
We
do have the pyramids out here, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. For those who aren't aware, the international guests, we stayed around in Byron Bay for a few days, caught up with them multiple times, and then we ended up going up and spending some time with Jambi. Or Jambi came down first, and then he did some grounding stuff with us, and because he actually rang me, and it was such a heightened state with the festival and even just in my life in general. And he goes to me, do you feel grounded? Like, are you grounded at all? And I was like, nah, not at all. And he's like, all right, I'm on my way down. So then we did some grounding stuff, and then he did some spiritual cleansing sort of stuff, like a smoking ceremony and stuff with us. And you guys were able to attend that. And then we went up to Mount Warning and just spent some time there and, you know, in the forest, and did some other grounding stuff there. And then afterwards, everyone just felt like all this stuff had just released. And, you know, it was almost like this stone feeling. Everyone was just like super chilled and fully grounded. And so that was this amazing experience. And then a few of them ended up going up to the Byron Hinterland property as well, spending some time up there and continued on the journey. So I think for those internationals as well, to not just sort of rush in, rush out, but to have some of these other experiences. They got to go to one of the animal sanctuaries, you know, wildlife sanctuaries, whatever you want to call them, close by, and, you know, feed some kangaroos and hug some koalas or whatever. And so, you know, all of the stuff, I think, just adds to the whole experience for them. And so, yeah, they were very appreciative of the extra components that went into their itinerary as well.
Yeah, and we're so lucky that
Sean Kirk, what a legend, man. He was like the official tour guide of the LFM.
He was not a very good tour guide, though. He didn't even know what a bloody bush turkey was.
Yeah, but he was there. He showed up for it. He's like, yeah.
He was giving him all the wrong information. I said to him, Sean, you need to brush up on your Australian wildlife before you start showing the international guests around.
No, you just need to own it. That's all you need to do, because they're never going to know.
He's a city boy.
Yeah,
he's a city boy.
Some kind of bird.
We had Sky, and we had Sean do a lot of the touring around and the buses and all of that sort of stuff. And we actually had this really chilled day. I've got to give a shout out to Monica as well, who let us stay at her property.
Mon's a legend
as well. And so we stayed there, and we didn't even catch up with the internationals on that day. We said, hey, do you guys just want to do your own thing and all the rest of it? And they were staying down in Byron. And we all just hung out and we just chatted the whole day. And then Jamie came down to the grounding thing, and it was just this full relaxing thing and we just needed it, because there was so much stuff going on leading up to the event, and then obviously during the event to sort of get it going. And then we just needed this day where we all came together, and it was so special. So, you know, so many memories, not just from the festival, but also after it as well. And very important.
Yeah. And I just feel so blessed and feel so lucky that, because I didn't know that you guys were going to be staying in, or the guests were going to be staying in Byron afterwards. We knew that we were going to be catching up with you and Erin while you were up after. And yeah, I was just so lucky that you guys were so close, because it's really different. Like, I spoke to pretty much everyone at the festival, some more than others, but it's just there's so much going on at the festival. It's hard to, really get into a really like, undisturbed conversation, because there's people coming up and people are running off to different stages and things like that. So it was really nice to, get to hang out with everyone and chat to them. And we had some laughs, and just what an absolute bunch of legends. Honestly, it's just so wild when you're meeting people for the first time and within a few days, it feels like you've known them forever. And and then Jambi's going up to, Jambi's property is like 10 minutes away from us, 15 minutes or something, which is, I didn't know he was that close. And the smoking ceremony we did was just so, so beautiful. And it's funny because we've known Jambi for a while, and we see him around, town and stuff sometimes. And he's one of those, he's like a dark horse, like he's real quiet, doesn't say much. But when he does stuff like the smoking ceremony and when he speaks, he's just so present, and he almost like he's got this very commanding presence. And I definitely, after going up to the property and doing that, and just seeing this vision that he kind of has for what he wants to do there, I feel very called to like do some like work with him and collaborate in some way, because that's what it's all about. It's like this is the best part of the community, is when you actually get to connect in person.
I've got to give a shout out as well, because he didn't realize you guys were so close, and he got some of your product at the last festival, and then reached out and said, "Who's those guys that had this product?" And I said, "Well, they're actually just down the road from you." So I think he picked up some more stuff, but he was having trouble with his leg or knee or something, I think, at the time, and was getting a lot of relief from that product. So, he's a legend. It was so good to spend more time with him as well, and I got to know him on a deeper level, which, we'd done some talks across the last sort of 6 months. But I think he's a very special guy, and he's got a lot to give, and I'd love to see that come out more. I don't think that people realize how much he's got to give.
100%.
So I think we need to, work more with him in some capacity and bring that forward, because there's a lot people could learn. And, for me, I'm just sitting there soaking it in, going, wow, this is something that I felt was sort of missing, some of that deeper grounded connection. I'm always up in my head, and, that part. And I love the fact that it's called Grounded and Connected, because, one of the things that I've learnt through Jambi is that, we're all trying to seek this connection, this spiritual connection, but a lot of us aren't getting that it's the combination of the connected and then the grounded together. Because you get your other people that are just grounded, but it's the two that can then give us the best way in which we can navigate through our life. And, on a sort of more Christian focused or, religious type thing, it's all about that direct connection, Father, in heaven sort of stuff. And then, the Mother Earth, the connection to Earth, isn't really spoken about in any of those texts, even though, if you read some of the biblical stories, then, Jesus goes out and spends time in different areas, and that's probably grounding, but it's not spoken about as grounding, and we don't connect it to grounding. And I feel like with everything that's going on with Wi-Fi and city life and the shoes that we wear and everything else, we're not really doing the work in the grounding, and we're all seeking this higher thing. And I think that that's the disconnect. We can actually disconnect from, either end of the spectrum, but I think we need to put equal energy behind the connection spiritually higher as to connecting to the earth as well. And that's super important. So I feel like there's a lot there that I'm learning on my journey as well. And I'm just trying to soak it up from his experiences, which is lived experiences. Some are, he's had a lot of trauma and that sort of thing as well. But we can learn so much. And I feel like he's got a deep understanding that, I haven't heard many people speak like that and command that much attention. So I wish more people would listen to those sorts of things. And I think people like that need to be highlighted more, because they've got a lot more to share than we need more of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Yeah, and there's some stuff that Billy and I were talking about. He brought it up. I don't know if he's mentioned Jambi yet, but we'll talk more about it offline. But some more collaborations between between Billy's property and Jambi's. And well, I'll just say this: I need to get I know a place to get the right topographical map, and I'll need to find a compass and a protractor, and then we'll go exploring. We'll go find some activities.
Well, I like my adventures, so count me in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I saw your stash of rucksacks up there, all the backpacks, all the adventure kit. I was like, oh, there's so many of these. This is perfect. It's all here, man.
Don't you like American Army guys? Don't you need like a GPS with batteries and all of that? Like, you don't.
I never got to use the GPS. It was all.
And
I know they got the satellites. We've all got drones. Like everyone's got their own personal freaking C-130 with a, was it 100 mic or whatever Canon? No,
we're gonna put on that music as we go out to
I've got the entire A-Team soundtrack on downloaded.
So I think we'll go Jambi's way and the old natural way, looking at the mountains, and we'll work it out. No protractors needed.
At night with the stars, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
And we'll get lost.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Dave, in relation to like choosing the speakers and stuff this year in the workshops, like obviously, so the theme for the first festival was creating the new, which felt very just so fitting because it was the first one. It was all about creating the new, the world that we want to see. And this year's theme was exiting the rabbit hole. So how did you guys come to the decision to sort of make that the theme? And then I'm assuming you then sort of chose the speakers and the workshops to fit in with that theme.
Yeah, somewhat. I'll have to give some credit to Erin because she came up with the idea of exiting the rabbit hole and even had sort of the vision of what it should look like as far as the posters go and everything. But yeah, for us, it was that, on this journey, so many people are going down rabbit holes and sometimes you get stuck down them and you go deeper. But in the end, if you keep going deep down these rabbit holes, it also comes back down to this sort of spiritual connection as well and coming back to your purpose and all of these other stuff. So to exit that rabbit hole is to sort of go, okay, I get it. And a lot of the speakers it was interesting when we did the group chat that it was like, there was a lot of times we didn't know the answer. And this is one thing that I think is really important for people to realize is that anyone claiming to know the answers is probably full of shit. And so, having that, being humble enough to actually go, you know what, I actually don't know. And some of the scientific people like we had, like Steve Young breaking down different things. He's like, I know it's not that because the science doesn't add up and he's an astrophysicist, but I don't know what it is. And I think being okay to say that, I don't know what this world is or, these things, that's actually the truth. But, any of these gurus that think that they know it all and project themselves onto the world and go, I've got all the answers, they're not the people that you want to follow. You want to follow people that are humble enough to look at the world and go, hey, we're actually probably never meant to know the full truth while we're here for whatever reason. And that we even had some talks on for what reasons that is, which I find really interesting. But that's okay. We can seek to try to find the truth, but the truth is sort of somewhat varied. Now, people say the truth is inside you, the truth is, God, the truth is this or whatever. But I'm talking about the truth of how this world operates, what's going on, why, so many things. Is this person good or bad? Is it, we don't really know. We don't know how much of it is a show. It says in the Bible that there's wars and rumors of wars in the final days. We actually don't even know what's rumors of wars or what's being projected on TV that's real. And, so for me, so many people are getting caught up in the division and that they're being divided by these rumors or these rumors of wars and, all of these other things. And so for me, it's trying to pull people out of that mindset and realize that there's something bigger going on. There's something above all of this that we need to work our way into and release feeling like you have to have all the answers. because there's actually this wonderful thing of actually not knowing, the wonder of the world, and just going, you know what, like, so people like Mike Wilkinson talking about like the massive trees that are now mountains that became volcanoes and this and that. It's like, that's cool. I don't know if it's true, but it's a cool story, and that's an amazing thing to think about and look at his evidence of these things, of giants and whatever else. And I think that that's really the big takeaway for something like this, is to be open to not knowing, and then feel into what's inside as to what feels right for you, and start listening to what's inside to get rid of some of these distractions, these rabbit holes, these rumors of wars, whatever it is, and stop dividing everybody based on this. Like, so much of the community they're looking for, and it's probably so much of the world, I think, is actually looking for the parts in which they disagree on. So we could all agree on 95%, and then you say something and they go, oh, you're one of them. I can't talk to you. You're one of them, for whatever that one of them is. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they're looking for the reason in which to not connect, instead of all the other reasons to connect and to work together. And then if you can let go of some of those, the ego that's attached to knowing or thinking that you know, because you don't actually know, then you can actually be more accepting of someone's different views, their point of view, and listen to them. And, you know, I even see it in religious conversations, you know, or spiritual conversations, where someone's saying one thing, but they used a certain word, and it could be more new age than, say, the Christian version or whatever. And they put them in a box and they shut down their thinking. But if you allow that conversation to go a bit further, often they're talking about the very same thing, but they've used a different name. And this is what people aren't allowing to occur, is the conversation, so that we can see what we actually agree on and have an interesting conversation of what we don't, but not hold on to it to a point where we're dividing. And I think, you know, there's a lot of growth that I think people need to do if we want to change the way in which the world currently is. And that's what we're trying to do with Exiting the Rabbit Hole. We're trying to help people to come to that realization, and then listen to themselves and connect on whatever levels they can. And that sort of naturally occurs on something like the festival as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to say, that's one of the things I love most about the community. Like, yeah, you always get those people, especially I think with what happened in the last, you know, with like since COVID, and it did create a lot of division. And there are the people who moved through that. Like, we all hit the shit, you know, 2020, 2021, the age old story of my mum, you know, doing a suicide pact with the family. We all kind of lost it. And, you know, it did create this division. But I think so many of us, and a lot of the people within the Living Free movement, have moved beyond that and know that it's not about that. It's actually about the opposite. It's about unity. It's about coming together. And it's about being able to respect and celebrate our differences and our differences in opinions, and like be able to have those conversations where, and I do, like, we have so many conversations with our friends. We have so many friends within the LFM that we can have these open conversations and all share our different opinions, and we end the conversation, we go, cool, love ya, see you next time. And it's like, it's not, there's never any division, there's never any hard feelings. And I think it's so often the ones that haven't been able to move beyond that, they're the types of people too, that with the people they listen to, they, you know, love everything they say. And then as soon as they say something they disagree with, they throw the baby out with the bathwater, and, oh, I can't listen to them anymore. Oh, because they think this. And it's like, okay, well, what about the 99% of good things that they've got to put into the world that you do agree with? And they just, they can't, they just draw a line. And I don't know, I just think that's like the old way of being. I think we're just very conditioned to be that way.
Yeah, because I've done a lot of different adventures, I would see what happens in society in a condensed view. So everything on adventure, sort of everything's heightened, and friendships occur much deeper, and, you know, all of that sort of stuff, like everything's heightened. And there was and there's been several occasions where this is the case, but there was one particular trip on Kokoda where we were coming in, and we flew into Popondetta and then got onto a truck, and the truck ride was I think it's a few hours from memory, 3 or 4 hours, and we're all sitting on the back of a truck bouncing up and down on these roads that are terrible. And there's this one guy, and his energy is just over the top, right? Like he's hanging on the back of the truck, like scooting through, you know, just like this kid. And there's this other guy who's a bit grumpy, and he's sitting there going, I'm going to smash this bloke. I'm going to smash this bloke. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, here we go. We're literally a couple of hours into the trip. And, you know, their personalities were so different. And then as you go through the trip, these guys connected and everyone connects, and that's what happens. And you actually celebrate the differences, because you don't want everyone the same. That's just a boring trip. You want to be able to take the piss out of someone who's like this, and then have fun with this person, and then get to know someone deeper on this side. And so you celebrate the differences, and that's actually what we should be doing in this world. But we don't. We want people to, you know, in general, people want to be around people that are confirming their bias of the world and telling them how right they are, and going, yep, you know, and you see it all the time in, you know, often in like female relationships, they won't tell them the truth. They'll just go, you're so right, don't do this, and all the rest of it. It's like, hang on, like truth and celebrating that is really important. You know, I feel like we're missing that part often in celebrating the differences, and we are all different, and it's okay to take the piss out of each other for those differences as well. Just release the ego that's attached to this stuff and have some fun, because this world is so serious if we don't do that.
Yeah, and you can see the seriousness going with the operations that are going on out there. And it pays to just be aware of it, but don't get sucked into it. But the whole thing with the immigration and all that, and people need, I think having fun with it is a big part of it too, and not getting too serious about all this stuff. But there's all these like marches and all this stuff going on, and I'm just sitting back and I'm like, who do you think organized all these marches? Was it just, you know, a group of like really well-meaning people, or because the media's got everything that they want to portray you however you want, and they've been doing this a lot longer than we have. But if you just jump in and fall for this stuff and start fighting and you're all serious, and then there's people that I've seen on the media where they're like, oh, how dare you? Do you know that there's Nazis in this group? And they're just like, okay, like I'm not a Nazi. There's people that showed up that are, but it's even with the people. Sorry, there's evidence
to suggest that these are all set up and played upon. So, you know, there's a bit of research that's happened in the background that they're connected with ASIO and all of this. And 100%. When you see these things happening on a worldwide stage, it's coordinated, and people are falling for this stuff and not realizing that there's a deeper level to what's going on. And you can see it with the media, the way that they're spraying it in the media. And people aren't taking that step back, that higher view to go, hang on, what's actually going on here? Because it 100% is coordinated, and there will be reasons behind it, that, you know, problem, reaction, solution type stuff. And, you know, I don't see, especially with the Palestine-Israel thing, like you've got a war that's been going on since biblical times, and there's wars all over the place. Right. So, you know, there's atrocities that are happening in Africa, and atrocities that are happening over here. But everyone is being told that this particular atrocity, you know, once again, wars, rumors of wars, I don't know what's actually happening, but there's most likely atrocities that are happening there. But we all need to now pick a side, and we get told that we've got to pick a side. And I'm not sure that that's the answer. I don't think we need to pick a side. I think we need to go, you know what, war and killing's bad. Let's try to have peace. Like,
well,
you know,
that's what I was going to say is, like, especially with this march that was just on last weekend, this in Australia. So for our international listeners, there was a rally organized. I think it happened in like across different parts of Australia, and it was for like against mass immigration and just, I don't know. It was a kind of a lump of different things kind of thrown in. And at the end of the day, it's like, I agree with you, Dave. I 100% believe that it was coordinated, especially when you see it in the media and they have a, you know, particular spin on it and all of this. But at the end of the day, you've got to look at what it's doing. If it's creating division, which is exactly what this march did, if it's creating division, I personally don't want anything to do with it. And I think that's all people have to look at. Is like, what is it doing? Is it bringing people together? Which some people would argue that it is bringing people together for this common cause. But it's like, no, it's creating division. And a lot of what it's, that the whole thing was based around is bullshit. I mean, that's the thing. We don't have the evidence, like the mass immigration and all that. They say, 1,500 people are coming in a day or coming in a week or whatever. And it's like, well, where's the actual evidence for that? How do we know that? And that's how these things happen. They put out these little, plant the seeds of doubt, plant these seeds of rumors, like you said, rumors of wars, all this stuff. And then the people just run with it and it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah. Well, the numbers come from the government and they would never lie about any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's funny is the people that they forget, or maybe they just are the people that aren't really awake to it or know. But, the enemy is not, the enemy is not out there. Most of the time you need to deal with the enemy within here, and it's a spiritual battle. So that's kind of like the basis from where I start with it. But then when you also go into the physical realm, because we're in a physical world, the enemy is not, the immigrants, although you need to be cautious about where you're importing them from. If they've just been bombed for the last 20 years and you're importing them, they're a little messed up and they're going to have some issues. So, but the thing is the government and the rules and all this stuff, all the people marching against, we're Australians and we're proud and we're here to defend, our idea of our way of life. Like, you guys will give up your guns. You will, just bend over to whatever the crazy laws are, massive taxes on everything from, like if we had the cigarette prices you guys have in America, there'd already be a second revolution just off of that, probably. So there's little things where people always give away. Like, oh yeah, it's all right. And then when they're told by the media and by the government too, that it's time to protest right at the beginning of spring here. So the astrology lines up for that. So they're building this up into something right after that new moon. It's the same thing. It's astrologically based. But I'm like, people need to just like get a higher view, go to high ground and see above it. Go to, what is that thing we like to quote, Robert Kiyosaki? There's 3 sides to a coin: heads, tails, and the edge. And the edge is intelligence. And you can see both sides from the edge. So if you operate in that realm, you're less likely to be tricked, and you realize that most of the stuff you see on TV is all bullshit anyways.
And also that protesting and going to rallies doesn't do anything. Like, it doesn't, like, nothing happens after these protests and these rallies, especially like, the government needs to stop bringing people in. And it's like, there are a million other ways that you can protest the government, and going to a rally is not the most effective one of them all. So that's what gets me. Like, that's what frustrates me, is that especially the people that are in the quote unquote freedom communities that kind of know this stuff about, what's actually lawful and what's not, and the way our governments are set up. It's like, when you know that stuff, why would you waste your time going to a protest or a rally that's, got media cameras there and it's so contrived, when there's so many other things that you can do outside of that. The first being just saying no to things and stop complying, but they can't do that. It's just, I just get so frustrated with it.
So just real quick, that's what I think they're actually wanting people to protest, are the people that do actually not comply. Like, where do all the illegal fireworks come from? From the immigrants, from the Chinese or the Indians or the Lebos. Like, where's all the people that are actually breaking all the rules that all the Aussies tend to like really, really just kind of like lay down for? And it's nothing, no offense, Dave, and anyone else who's like Aussies, but you guys are here for freedom and for taking full responsibility. But these cultures like the Serbs, like your family, Alexa, there's a lot going on in the Serb. There's an energy to that lineage and that generation. There's a lot of them that are, you would consider quote unquote rebellious, but they're not out there protesting and marching and being dumb about it, because, if you protest and march, they can see it coming. They're just quietly being disobedient. And I think to evil people. And I think that's what they fear. And that's why they want these protests.
Well, it's really funny you say that, because I was talking to someone about this recently, and I want to get your take on this in a sec, Dave. is that, because we met Alex Zek at the festival last year, and he's also of Serbian lineage, and so many similarities. Just even him and my dad were sitting talking for ages at the festival because they grew up like with very similar dads and very similar issues. And it's just really interesting that the ancestral patterns that play out. And there is something about our lineage and what we experienced in, the previous wars and things that all gets carried through our genetic memory. And there is something about, like, I know, not just my family, I have met so many Serbs and Eastern Europeans that did not go along with the COVID thing. They just knew it was bullshit. And there's like this inherent distrust of the government because of what we experienced in our past, in our history. But then I think that's also like, then when you look at it from the quote unquote Aussie history, like the white Australians, they came out here as convicts. They were literally brought out here, given everything they needed, told what to do. And they were just like, oh, we've got a new life here. And I feel like that's carried through too, where like so many Aussies just do what they're told by the government because that's in their lineage. What do you think about that, Dave?
Yeah, I think there's a good example have you heard of the ant experiment with all of this?
No.
So the ant experiment is basically a jar that's got two different rival ants in there. And basically they're in this jar and they're getting on fine. And you come along and you shake the jar and they fight each other to the death. And so to me, what's going on is who's shaking the jar. It's not to say that there's not these reasons, like I agree with some of the arguments of these different sides, but when the jar's being shaken by someone above, we have to start going, well, who's doing that? Why is that occurring? And start focusing on them as the problem rather than each other. Because if I came from some of these countries and some of the benefits of coming to this country, especially from where they've come from, I would jump on it. Of course I would. I would look after my family however I could. There's, a lot of incentives for, government support and housing and all of these things that a lot of the time that the people that are here don't get in the same way. So I can see why the arguments are happening on both sides, but I would also jump at those opportunities to come across. And the other thing is, if, coming from certain countries, if my family was bombed and, all the rest of it, I would probably have hatred towards those that have killed my family as well. So why are these things occurring? Why are people manipulating these things? And who's shaking the jar to make this happen? I think that that's where we need to get to, is focus on, because that's really our common enemy, if you think about it, because they're being disrupted in their other countries. They're being incentivized to come across here. You're talking about those that are here that have got such high taxes and, housing so difficult and all the rest of it. So that's all being controlled and manipulated by money, and money is controlling the world. And so who's got all the money? Who's controlling this stuff? They're the people that we need to focus on. And if we all focused on that, it all falls apart. But if we all are focusing on each other and, the other tribe of ants, and you're being shaken and forced to sort of go in and fight and to pick a side and to do all of this, then you've just fallen for the agenda of what they want us to do, which is to waste all of our energy in yelling at each other or yelling at the wall, asking for freedom, or whatever it is that we're doing in these protests. They want us to use up our energy rather than focusing on internally using that energy to focus on our purpose, get to that place where we know what we're here for and bringing that forward. If everyone was to do that, we're in a whole different place. And, I just think that that's where we've got to get to as a collective before we can start moving forward, because, those with the money are still going to keep manipulating and doing whatever. It goes back to the Roman days of, talking about having the Roman circus and having the gladiators fight each other and everything, and keep everyone distracted from this. Sport's the same. All of this, they're all distractions, and we need to start looking at them as distractions. I'm not saying remove ourselves from everything, because I like distractions as well, like Formula One and watching this and all of that, but understanding that that's what it's there for. That's its purpose. That's why it's funded and got so much money. But make sure that the investment's going internally as well in upgrading ourselves, so that as a collective, that can't be then disrupted going forward. And I want people to to really think about what's going on from that level. As we said, take a high perspective on what's going on and not caught up on that. But the lineages, like when I look at my lineage, I don't even know where I come from, really. You know, I go back a couple of generations and there's, you know, unknown parts of like, you know, was my grandfather adopted? You know, did this happen in the family? Often family secrets, you know, someone had a child out of wedlock and then got brought up somewhere else. We've got that sort of stuff going on at my grandparents' level. So I don't even know really, you know, my grandfather got brought up with an Indigenous woman.
Oh, wow.
Who had a big family, and he was like the only sort of white one in there. And he never explained why, because they just didn't tell that. And so we've tried to go deeper into that. So I don't have that lineage, and it's probably not dissimilar to some of the Indigenous who were disconnected from their families in breaking that up. When you lose that connection, sometimes you lose something else. So that journey has to then be an inward journey to try to find where that lineage is, rather than looking at the history books or our family tree and trying to work out where we come from and what that is. So yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. You know, when I talk to Jambi and things like that, we're talking the same stuff. Like they've had all of that destruction, but it's not dissimilar to the destruction that the white man has had in many ways as well. And so once again, there's a common enemy that's done both. You know, it's not white man versus black man. It's like, I believe, a different breed who's come into here, you know, blue bloods, whatever you want to say, that has come into here that's causing the problem. They're what we need to be focusing on our energy on. And we've been given a custodianship of, you know, if you look at a biblical point of view, you look at being given dominion, which is like a custodian of this. We have a job to do here, and we need to step into that role of custodian. We need to actually take responsibility and accountability of what we're doing in our lives and start bringing people together and focusing on what we're doing to change this. And we get too caught up, which is, you know, a big long-winded answer for the whole rabbit hole explanation of what we've been talking about. But they're the deeper conversations that we're having at that level, and trying to help people move through these illusions and traps, you know, deceitful things that have been happening in front of them, to keep them away from knowing the deeper truths.
Yeah, amazing. Amen. And I just want to bring the topic back to just something real quick, just because I really wanted to share this because it popped into my head and I was like, oh my God, the big tree thing that Mike Wilkerson was talking about, how these mountains, some of them are potentially big trees that were lopped down. In his presentation, he showed some examples. He went through it so fast, but there's some videos and some pictures of these big peak mountains that have a waterfall coming off of them. Now, where's that water coming from? So I was at the gym at Billy's property up at up there in Upper Coopers Creek, and the view out from the gym is this big mountain. There's all these eucalyptus trees up there, and there's a waterfall coming off the top. And I'm just sitting there, and it popped into my head because I was like, oh, that's amazing. But I'm like, where's the water coming from? Water runs downhill, but if it's at the top of the hill, where's the water coming from? You know, and obviously it gets more when it rains. Yeah, but where does the water run from? It has to run down to get to the waterfall. But if it's coming from like the top of the mountain and it's just constantly going, and it's not raining for like several days, where's that water coming from? And Mike Wilkerson talked about, if these are old tree stumps, there's still the physical structure that would draw water from the earth up, and then it doesn't have anywhere to go, so it just goes off the waterfall. And I was like, I think that mountain out front of the gym there is a tree.
Yeah. I mean, once again, who knows? And that's the cool thing, right? There's a wonder to it. It's something that we're going to, I think people like Mike go deep into exploring these things, and then they share it, which is what I love, is that I love bringing people together with different ideas and to share their knowledge, and they're very knowledgeable in that area. And they've gone deep, so I don't have to go as deep. You know, I can just get the cliff notes of what they're doing. And, you know, to me, it just opens you up. It's like, yeah, that's completely possible. It's plausible. I don't know. Does it change anything in my life? Not really. Not on any major level, but it does open me up to a deeper understanding that this world is more amazing than what we often give it credit for. And, you know, we think that we know it all. And I was, you know, the worst at this growing up. I thought I knew it all. And that was pretty boring. It was pretty boring to think that the world was just this explained by science and this, and it was just, this is how it works. And then the more that I've realized that it doesn't actually work, which is great because I didn't listen much in class about all that stuff anyway, then, you know, enjoying the wonder of what's going on, and discovering, you know, new ideas as to how that could work. It really throws a spanner in the works when you've got kids as well, because, you know, the kids will come back and go, well, how does this work? Or they say, I've learnt this or whatever it is. And then you go, I'm not sure. And they're like, what do you mean? This is what my teacher said or whatever it is. And I'm like, I'm not sure that's true. And this is why I don't believe it. It may not be true, but I don't know. I'm just throwing up a different explanation for you. And, you know, bringing up my kids in that way has been really enjoyable as well, because it creates some really interesting conversations on how the world may or may not work.
Yeah, I know. I say it all the time. Like, I am so excited to have kids and start not just teaching them, but learning with, like, I feel like I'm going to go through this whole process of relearning as well, like through our children, because we're just going to be approaching it in such a different way, where instead of like telling them, we're just going to start exploring different things and actually, like, from a very young age, asking them the questions and asking them what they feel. Like, I think the biggest shift in this generation in particular with like raising children is that, you know, the generations before were like, we're the adults, we know everything, you must listen, the children must listen to the adults. And it's like, now I think we're going into it with like, our children are going to have so much to teach us, especially from the spiritual aspects. Like when you hear like Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan, she like just if anyone's listened to her, which we really want to get her on at some stage, but her a lot of her interviews, she's talked about her experience when she had brought her kids in, and the story, like the things that they would tell her from like their experience before they came to Earth. And like, kids are so inherently tapped into that before, you know, I mean, for us, we were so conditioned out of it. But I think when you can really like foster that within them, like, we have so much to learn from them. And I just think, like, even just putting the questions to them, like, well, what do you think that this is? What do you think? What do you perceive this to be? I think we're going to have so much to learn from them. And it really does excite me to raise them in that way, because I think through that process, like, I've done a lot of like deconditioning and sort of coming back to what I felt intuitively as a child. Like I always say, I from day one, I remember in school learning that the earth was a globe, and it never made sense to me. Like, inherently, I was just like, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. But then through all the years of schooling, I literally would argue with people. No, the earth's not flat. That's so silly. But it's just all the indoctrination and sort of, so I am definitely undoing a lot of that. But I think it's just going to be on another level with, you know, with bringing our kids in.
Yeah, I did this thing with my kids just recently. I did it with my oldest daughter first, and then I just did it with the two younger ones. But it was around Ned Kelly, because obviously Ned Kelly's story is around here, and you can actually go and look at his armor. You can go to where the final shootout was at Glen Rowan, and you can do all of that. So the experiment was effectively, I got them to watch the Ned Kelly movie, the one with Heath Ledger. And so that was the first part, and they watched the story, and I did it with my oldest daughter first, as I said, and because she wanted to know, I said, look, I want to know if you think Ned Kelly was a good or a bad guy. And they really wanted to know my opinion. Well, what do you think, Dad? What do you think? I'm like, I want you to watch it. I want you to go and hear the story. And we ended up going to the prison and going through and doing a tour and checking out the armor and doing all of this sort of stuff. And I wouldn't tell them. I said, I want you to go through and then you tell me. And then so we had this awesome conversation where I was like, oh, I think he's a good guy. Okay, well, why do you think he's a good guy? well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, he killed police. Is that a bad thing? No, but he looked after his family and he was protecting his family. Okay, so we should look after our family. And we're having these, so I'm just sort of introducing these conversations. And then at the end, they, you know, my eldest daughter goes, well, what do you think, Dad? And I said, I agree exactly with what you're saying. She's like, why didn't you tell me this earlier? And anyway, it was just great to have that experience. And then the other two, we just did that with as well. And then on the way actually up to the festival, we stopped off at Glenrowan because it's a few hours, it's probably 4 hours drive maybe from Melbourne. So it's a bit out of the way. And there's like a little tour part where you could go and sort of go from one stop to the next and see where the final shootout was and all of this and just bring that history in. But so many of those lessons are so important, you know, to make your own decision. Like, don't listen to me. I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to make your own decisions as to what's right, what's wrong. What should we stand up for? You know, why should we stand up for it? You know, just because the police said this, does that mean that that's the truth? And, you know, and not putting it on to police or putting it, you know, that, but it's really important lessons for them to go through and make their own decisions and to go through. And so my eldest daughter, she did it with me as well for the other two, because they were asking her and she's like, I can't tell you, this is part of it. You've got to make your own decision. And so she, you know,
I love that.
Yeah, but it was really cool. And I love doing those sorts of things with my kids because opening up their minds, or even when they come back and they say, well, how does this work? And, you know, you say, well, this is actually what they'll teach you at school. They'll teach you this, but there may be another thing. And then you explain that and they go, well, what do you think? I go, well, I actually don't know, but I'm not sure, you know, these are the reasons why it might not be true what they're teaching at school. And, you know, it's then an exciting conversation. And, you know, I actually did this. I haven't done it with my middle one yet. I'm not quite sure because she's going to tell everybody at school and her little brother as well. But it's about, you know, Santa and all of that sort of stuff. So I did it with my oldest when she was 7. And I took her to a cafe. We had the day off. So I said, look, no school today. We've got a special event. We're going to do something together. And it was my wife and I. We took her to a cafe and we said, look, you know, Santa's not true. Easter Bunny's not true. Tooth Fairy's not true. And basically devastated her all at once, right? And I was like, but the world is actually way more magical. And, you know, there's all of these exciting things. And I never want you to doubt that we, you know, this is the reason that we tell this, but I don't want you to ever doubt that we're going to tell you the truth. And, you know, so, you know, she had a little bit of a cry and then we went to the movies as a family to, you know, the three of us together, or the others were out at school, and we did all of that. And, you know, it was really special because it was this telling of the truth where I feel like there's a deception, or like if you're not the one to tell them that and they find out otherwise, that they could feel like they've been deceived by the very ones you want them to trust the most. And so, yeah, we're about to do it with the second one, but I know that will mean that the third one knows straight after, because she's not keeping secrets. But those sorts of experiences, like, it's a different way of parenting. And, you know, it's a mature way to go about having these conversations. But I think that there's a deception in there. I feel like that's done on purpose to say, well, you thought the world was magical, and then you rip that out and they go, well, the world's not magical anymore. And you go, actually, it's way more magical than what this little story is. And here's the way it's magical. And, you know, getting them to think outside of that, like, you know, Greek mythology. Like, I think those stories are true. Let's have a look at the Bible and have a look at that. And I think that those stories of interbreeding and these animals and these giants and everything, I think that's all true. And then they go, well, what about unicorns? Well, I think unicorns were probably true. I don't know. But the unicorns are all on the coat of arms of all of these countries. So was there a time? Dragons, you know, you speak to indigenous culture, some of them say they're still around. You know, so do we really know these things? You know, going up to the place with Jambi, he was talking about the Yeti, or the there's different names for the same thing, abominable snowman, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And he was saying that they were here before they arrived. and that they were in charge, and they're interdimensional, and they go through this, and it's like, cool. That sounds like it could be very true, because all of these countries are talking and explaining the same thing with different names. So we need to be open to the fact that these things, are probably true, and that the world is pretty awesome because we have no idea how this stuff works.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love
remember
that you
feeling
brought that
when
up.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go. No, you go.
Well, I just remembered feeling in school. I think a lot of people can identify with it, but when you go through and you learn their version of history, and you just get this feeling like everything's already been discovered. We've already expanded all over. We've settled everywhere. Everything, we know everything. Like, and science is a lot like that, where they have to have an answer or an explanation for everything, and even some of the really cool, mysterious things. It's such a buzzkill when they come in. There's like, oh, it's this, this, and this. But then you peel back some of the layers, and you're like, well, there's anomalies that lead me to believe that it's not just that, and that. It's not as simple. And I think that adventurous spirit started reawakening, especially with the Yowies and the Yetis and all that stuff too. I was like, man, there was a moment there where I think I didn't blink for like 12 hours as I was going through some videos providing some pretty interesting evidence that they were real. And it's fun. And I think even the talk about the water, I mean, there's utility to it. Because I was speaking to a guy at a Music and Sky Festival about that, and they actually practically use that knowledge that up a mountain, you're actually closer to the water than if you're at the bottom of the mountain. And on his property, they drilled 2 wells, and one at the bottom was like 600 feet before they hit water. The one about, a kilometer up the hill was maybe 120 feet before they hit water. And so there are like some really cool practical applications for these things. If you're just willing to give it a shot and trust your instincts instead of just going off that doubt that the scientism and the school system kind of puts into your head, like, oh no, it couldn't be, because we have textbooks that say otherwise.
Well, that's their whole thing, right? It's like, well, we're going to give you the answers so that you don't have to think for yourself, because they don't want a population that can think for themselves, because then they can't control them. But I love that you brought up about, like the Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy thing, Dave, because Mum and I were just listening to a podcast together over the weekend, and they were talking about, sort of like the way that the holidays have been kind of manipulated, and Christmas. And, I've learned recently that, like, I don't think Jesus was even born on the 25th of December, like they say. And then, of course, they brought in the whole Santa Claus thing, which was totally it was just a commercialized idea that they put forth. It didn't really, because, you hear, oh, it was St. Nicholas and whatever, but apparently it started with Coca-Cola, hence the red and white suit that he wears. And this podcast was talking about, well, they brought up the same thing, just about like what you tell kids. And then Mum and I were saying, said, oh, I'm never telling my kids that, because it's like, for me, it's like it doesn't, it's not real. So you're intentionally lying to your kids, and that just doesn't sit right with me. But that's what we were talking about. It's like, but there is so much magic already in the world, and the wonder, and you don't need to make up those things, because I mean, even just like teaching kids about manifestation and how we can literally think something or speak it out and make it happen. Like that in itself is so magical. And then, then like you add the other layers into all these mystical creatures that may or may not exist, or, may or may not still exist or have existed or whatever. And I just think that's where the magic is. It's in the wonder, it's in the discovery, it's in the experiencing that for yourself, instead of being told, no, it's this way, and then trying to find that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love about, like that was the guest that we had this year. Like we had some of the internationals were opening up these mysterious doors and asking questions of what could be. A lot of the workshops were more sort of practical workshops of, homeopathy or, different sort of medical things or whatever. But, it was just awesome to have all of those things and focusing on solutions once again. Not focusing on the negative stuff, not focusing on, how bad the world is and all the rest of it. It's like, what are we going to create? Let's bring the builders together, and what are we going to create together? Because, we don't have a place to put these things at the moment. We have to build the stuff for there to be an option for people to go to. We need to stop just whinging about the system and everything that's wrong, because that system is only there because we're neglecting to actually step into what we're meant to be doing. And if we keep doing that, why are we whinging? It's actually doing, in many ways, an okay job, right? The roads or this or whatever. Okay, we can complain about all of those things, and there's corruption and everything else, but what are we doing to actually change that apart from whinging about it? That's where I want people to start to ask those internal questions of themselves, of like, what are you doing in this world to create something that's better? And then if you can find that purpose and bring that forward, then there's people that love to do things like roadworks, right? And there's no reason that, if you think about like private roads that are going up to multiple properties, that those things are shared, then you're going to get better roads. Can you invest in that and buy what that person needs? Can you share that? Do they bring their part to it? I just think that there's people who love doing a whole range of different things. There's a guy at the festival. Yeah. His name's Eddie, and he's on the property, and he goes through and he gets out all the cans and all the bottles, and he takes it to the recycling thing, and he ties up all the bags, and he ends up getting all the rubbish down to like next to nothing. And he loves it. People love, and I couldn't think of anything worse, right? But people love certain aspects of what they do, right? And that's the whole point, is that we do have all of these different people that can bring all of these different solutions together, but we need to support them to come through and to bring their talents, their callings, their blessings, whatever it is, to come forward. And then we create something different, and we don't have to worry about all this other crap that's going on in the world. We can create a better world that we see and inspire people to do that. And I think that that's going to have a much more positive effect than to yell at a wall, at a building, and think that that's going to make any difference.
Yeah, exactly. And something you said earlier, Dave, that I wanted to touch on, because you just kind of brought it up again, like, when we're talking about the protest and like all this, just externalizing everything, and like, that's like, it's where we focus our attention, right? And when we are focusing more on ourselves, like I've experienced this, when you start focusing more, and not in a selfish, greedy kind of way, but when you start focusing on your own inner healing, what you're creating, what you're putting into the world, what you're doing with your family, your community, you like the noise just kind of just disappears. Like that rally that was on last weekend, honestly, I would not have even known that it was happening if a friend hadn't told me a few days before, because I just don't look at anything anymore. And it's just funny because I have no interest in it whatsoever. I do not care to see what's happening. Now, mind you, I don't stick my head in the sand. Like, obviously, we're aware of what's going on in Israel with the Israel-Palestine thing and certain things that are going on here in Australia. But it's like, it just doesn't get my attention. It's just like, oh, okay, cool, that's happening. Good to know, whatever, and move on. And it's like the more and more you do that, it's just like that stuff just kind of, it just dissolves. And I loved the theme of exiting the rabbit hole this year, because that was that's what my work is really centered around. And that's what I, presented the workshop with that in mind. And I think I said that to people when I started. I was like, exiting the rabbit hole is all about, like, I kind of almost see that too as like doing like the internal work or, spiritual things and stuff. It's like, we have to go within and we have to do that, but we can't stay there. Because, and we talked about even just people not being grounded. You see that a lot in spiritual communities. They're so up here off with the fairies and everything, spirit. There's the least grounded people you'll ever meet sometimes in those spiritual communities. And so it's about having that balance of being able to go within, going down the rabbit hole, like sort of retreating and like finding out all these things or finding all these things about who you are and whatever. But you have to come back out of the rabbit hole, so to speak. You have to come back out into reality, because that's like the integration is where like the true change happens. You can't just do one or the other. It has to be both, and it has to be balanced in a way where you can actually see the growth and the evolution within yourself and then in the world. That's how it starts with us, and then we can put that out into the world.
Yeah, it's a fractal, it's a ripple effect. And then, that can go further and further the deeper you go, and the more work you do, the bigger those ripples are, and that's where change happens. It's not forced in any other way, I think. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
Anything
well
else to say,
said.
babe?
No, I think this is a good place to leave it. This has been a really, I mean, it's been a victory in a lot of ways, a learning curve, setting the tone. And I'm excited to see more of that culture of people bringing their, like the workshops and all the people that have these skills and talents and are just showing up. You know, big shout out to Bjorn and what he's stepping into, and some ideas about getting in with some ram pumps to do some things with water and generate electricity. And we're just going to do it. We're not going to sit around and talk. The time for talk is long gone. Like, let's just go. Let's just do it. So I'm excited to see more of that. And I'm honored to be a part of the LFM and to know you, Dave, and to see this, what's growing here in this movement.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. You're like family, and that's what a lot of people are like within this community. They are truly like family. Actually, they're probably better than family. I'm not going to say for all my family, because I do have some amazing family, but I could certainly replace a few with you guys for sure.
I love that. Yeah, it really is. It's like, we always say that the LFM literally is like family. And I have one last question for you, Dave, because like I said, we always come off the back of the festival with this like renewed energy, this creative energy. There's always just something that comes from it. How are you feeling like that after the festival? Are there things like, have you got new ideas for the platform or next year's festival, or just what you want to do with your family? Like, where are you at with that?
Good question. I don't know from all of those aspects. There's quite a few ideas that have come forward, and I think we're going to get a group of people and start thinking about what's next. Where are we going? What are we doing? For me personally, I feel really renewed. I think that there's a new chapter. There's something that happened over that birthing experience that I had, that of coming through those rains, the biblical rains, and being birthed out the other side with the challenges that occurred. I feel like something occurred there for me personally in a spiritual growth aspect, and I'm really excited to explore what's next in all of that for me. But it's just, what can we do? You know, it's unlimited, really. I'm looking forward to getting some of the other projects up and going, and I think it's going to be a good year, and we'll just see what comes. Review, lick some of the wounds, wreck out some of the learnings, and go forward on the next thing. And I love having big audacious ideas. I've always done it, as you guys know. Like, the first thing was Antarctica, and doing that's my life. It's like, what big awesome things can we do while we're here? You know, I want on my gravestone to be something like, he had a crack, he had a good shot, you know, like so whatever it is, we'll have a crack, and we'll try to make something big happen. And we pulled it off this time due to an amazing team and amazing community, and we'll see what happens for whatever's coming up next.
Love it. Beautiful. And of course, we always encourage people to join the Living Free movement. We'll have the links in the show notes. It's such an incredible platform. And yeah, I mean, we've already got some ideas. Mum and I spoke to you for like 2 hours the other day, Dave, just brain dumping all of our ideas. And that's the beauty of the platform, is that the community is always willing to get in and help and provide value. And I'm excited to see what's to come as well.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, if somebody wants to do a workshop or something on the Living Free platform, who did they get in contact for that?
Probably just me. Yeah. Send it through to me, and then I'll go through it, or it'll go through to Aaron or me. But yeah, I think maybe the evolution could be bringing more community in to the actual platform and to the building of it. So that's sort of what we were talking about the other day. It's more of a stewardship of this sort of thing, or that's really what I feel. There's not really an ownership aspect. It's really like trying to just create a container for people to bring through what they're here to bring through. And, you know, so that I'm open to all ideas, workshops, whatever it is, collaborations. If people are of like-minded and they're on that same page of creating and giving, you know, paying it forward and doing that stuff, then I'm open to any conversation and see what comes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
we'll
And if you're
pop
going
in
to
the
throw out a bunch of
contact
ideas,
email.
be prepared to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. You know, we're a culture of doers. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll pop in the contact email in the show notes as well if anyone wants to get in touch. And thanks again for coming on, Dave. You're our most what is it? Most what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, whatever. You've taken the cake. Most episodes on Natural AF goes to Dave Armstrong. Woo!
Thank you. No, I love you guys, and take care, and we'll catch up very soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Natural AF podcast, where we explore holistic healing modalities, mindsets, and methods that reconnect us to nature and our natural state of being.
if something resonated, share this episode and see the show notes for our guest links, as well as all of our discount codes for our aligned affiliates and Natural Art Form, where we handcraft a range of organic, natural remedies to help support your body's natural healing abilities and help support the show.
If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please take a few seconds to leave us a rating and review. And if you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, hit the like button and drop us a comment, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for the latest updates.
We're not here to conform. We're here to remember what's real. So step into your power, be curious, and be
Natural AF.